Let me pull up the roll.
All right. Whenever we're ready to start being professional, we can begin.
Well, we're always professional. It just means we have to curse less. Hold up a second. And go the fuck away!
Oh, college.
Yeah. Alright.
Alright. So, Jacob Bourne.
Mighty Mammoths.
Do you know how much I miss talking to you when we don't talk? Like, do you realize that when we don't talk, I am in persistent Jacob Bourne withdrawal?
I did not notice that, but it is an unfortunate consequence of being my friend.
I will gladly go through withdrawal if it means I can be your friend.
Good.
Alright. Enough of these shenanigans. Let's talk some puck.
Let's do it. Let's get right down to it.
Alright, buddy. Hit us off with the first one on our show roll.
Well, that would be the Bracket Busters Montreal Canadiens, who tonight went 4 goals to Tampa's 3s and officially completed the first sweep of the 2014 Stanley Cup playoffs.
I don't think either of us saw this coming.
I had no idea that was going to happen.
Nope.
Well, I don't think we saw Ben Bishop missing all 4 games though either.
No, we acknowledged that he was going to be out, but we took our pills presuming he was going to come back at some point.
Right.
Man, oh man, but you know what else is that this series turned out to be a lot more interesting than we originally gave it credit for.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The pace of the games were very easy to watch. I never felt like either team was rope-a-doping or countering to an excessive amount, which is my main criticism of the Rangers series right now. But we'll get back to that. I also didn't really believe that Tampa Bay was completely outmatched. I felt that the defense had some lapses, and Anders Lindback, I mean,
not good at all. That's one thing I'm actually surprised that didn't happen. Is I'm surprised they didn't go to Goodslicks, however you say his name.
I don't have it in front of me, so let's just call him Goose.
Goose. Okay, we'll call him Goose. I'm surprised that they didn't go to Goose in Game 3 or Game 4. Just to give up the shake up goaltending, because if Lindback isn't doing it for you, you gotta go with Goose, especially what he showed in the Olympics. And so, I mean, they brought him in for the end of the game tonight, and the Tampa scored 3 goals in front of him, and he only let in 1, so technically he could have gotten a W if he would have played the full game.
And I mean, the one he gave up was an empty netter in the
No, was it?
No, I'm sorry. My mistake. It was a Pacioretty power play goal. It was a real goal.
It was a Pacioretty power play goal with like 37 seconds left.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't go with him earlier.
I am too, and here's another detail why. So, Anders Lindback is built like a basketball player. He's 6'8".
Tall.
Yeah, he's literally eye to eye with LeBron.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I never saw Lindback give up a goal when Lindback was outside of his crease.
That is interesting. That he was in his crease for all of his goals.
There is no excuse, that he should be beaten up high. Just in general.
There really is. No.
Okay, so, but let's just say it happens once in a while, because his shoulders are below the crossbar. Alright, so it happens, whatever.
Uh-huh.
I grew up watching Mike Richter. Mike
Right.
Richter, to watch Jonathan Quick today is to watch something similar to Mike Richter from my childhood. Jonathan Quick, I've seen on a couple of occasions already in his series, and they're only playing in the third game now, and that was a sweet goal by Marion Gabbert just now.
Yeah, beauty.
Yeah, it really was. That was a goal scorer's goal. I've already seen Jonathan Quick get beat when he looks like he's like half a meter or even a full meter outside the top of the crease. Okay, Jonathan Quick is under 6 foot. Like, it's just, and so is Mike Richter. Mike Richter is like 5'9". And so this is what I'm getting at. It's not just the fact that Lindback was so deep in his crease. It's the fact that he either A, doesn't have a handle on angles, or B, was playing scared. And neither,
scared.
which is more understandable, especially at this level and at this juncture in his career. But neither are acceptable to any degree whatsoever.
Oh yeah. I think an interesting thing though, especially in this game, in game 4 tonight, so it might be a little small sample size that I just saw, but the Tampa Bay defense gave up a lot of odd man rushes against Anders Lindback and Goose.
Yeah.
And so that's just, I mean, I feel like that when you said defensive miscues, I mean, there were a good amount of time for that game could have easily been 7-3 because of how many odd man rushes the Canadians got.
The Canadians never, it's 2-2. They got through. The Canadians were never really threatened other than the overtime game.
Yeah.
They were sitting back in the third period after entering it 3-1, in game 4. And, I'm sorry, I'm watching the replay on this.
No, you're good.
Oh wow. San Jose, 2 weird goals. That was a weird goal by Nieto. In any event. So they were probably sitting on their heels trying to counter a little bit, which makes sense. Up 3-1 in the third game in the series, you're up 3-0. So the only time during this series was game 1 when Tampa Bay was consistently shift to shift able to apply legitimate pressure and sustain it. Outside of that, Montreal more or less was in control of the series, and I'm so disappointed in that because Tampa Bay, as we've said in our previous couple of podcasts, is a really good team, and we don't even need to get into it's just not their year and they're young and blah 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 blah. We don't need to even get into that. The defensive miscues and the goaltending miscues completely on the road what is a sincerely talented roster. And I just hope that this is a blip on the radar at the end of the day.
I definitely agree with that. Is that when they're going to be much better when Bishop gets back and stays healthy through the series. And I mean, he had a dislocated elbow. It's kind of hard to play goaltender with a dislocated elbow. That just sounds painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just need to get better on defense because once they get better on defense, in order to help out Bishop in front of the net, then they'll be fine. But yeah, I agree. There's no need to reiterate on what we said about Tampa beforehand because it still remains true.
All right, but I got one more on Tampa, and it's that Eric Brewer, Keith Ollie, Mark Barbero, Mike Koska, Nate Thompson. These are all guys that are still on this roster getting real minutes. Well, Barbero didn't tonight.
Right.
That many of them getting real minutes is a problem.
Yeah.
And I hope that in some way that they're able to find a real number 4 defensive. Whoop, there goes Riegler. Because as I've seen with the Rangers, we've seen with lots of teams, once a team is able to say, okay, we got at least these 4 guys, then they're able to start doing a lot of efficient game planning on how to use their minutes most effectively, as well as, and this is the most important thing, or one of the most important things in professional sports, is limiting the opportunity, the the fungible area of your roster can hurt you. That's why BJ Crombeen plays 6 minutes and Mark Barbero plays 4 minutes. But you don't want to have anybody who can only play 4 or 6 minutes. You want everybody to be able to play 12.
Right. And I think, especially with the defenseman, the only person that really deserves to have those kind of minutes is Koska, because he's a young guy and he's going to be good because he was an integral part when the Norfolk Admirals, I think it was either Admirals or the Crush, I can't remember if they flipped. When they won the AHL last year. I think it was Norfolk. But yeah, I definitely think that guys like Brewer and Crombie Brewer just needs to be done. He's an awful defenseman. I still don't know why he's employed. But I feel like those kind of guys need, in order for Tampa to be successful, they have to either learn how to play 12 minutes or just not be on the roster anymore.
Do we have anything we want to say on the Montreal side of things?
I can't wait for them to play Boston in the second round.
All right. Well, I didn't see much of tonight's Boston game.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Let's be honest here. The Boston's going to win. With Montreal going through, as Sean McOder, down goes Brown said, that now that Montreal Canadiens, and it doesn't matter what the Red Wings do, the Boston's going to move on to round 2.
And how much of a fun series is that going to be?
Fantastic. It's going to be so much fun.
And Boston's up 2-1 now, right?
Yes, Boston's up 2-1. They won tonight 3-0.
Yeah, I was just making sure I had the right amount of games. Yep. Okay, well, this is a little out of order for our show roll.
That's fine.
But, do you want to talk about Lucic and Perry?
Sure, because we're on Boston already. We can do it.
Alright, so, hockey is an injurious sport. This we know. It's also correct. A concussive sport. This we know, and we are forced to accept. There are going to be times when a person goes apeshit and does something loony. There are going to be times when there's a play, like a good hockey play, gone awry. And there are going to be times where it's somewhere deep within the gray zone, and you just don't know. What happened with the Seabrook on Bacchus hit, we're going to get to.
Correct.
What I think is currently the most overlooked, most heinously overlooked thing that happens in hockey is the stick to the nuts. And I'm not talking about the occasional nuts in the wrong place at the wrong time. We can accept an accident. What Lucic did, what Perry did, what we've seen time and again, the idea that a vicious and targeted stick to another person's nuts, another man's nuts, isn't reviled, isn't cause for a 6 or 10 or 15 game suspension, it blows my mind to shreds. There is nothing to accept about the mentality that goes in to doing that, the intent to injure and the execution, as well as the location. If the brain is the most important part of a body, the genitals are the second, especially when your age starts with a 2 or a 3 and you haven't gone through cancer. Right? It is unforgivable to me, even in the heat of the moment, to take your stick and use it as a weapon on another man's nuts. Especially when you're the strength of a professional athlete. And that even goes beyond the size and strength of Lucic and Perry. And this is my last point. $5,000 isn't even a joke. it's an embarrassment. I think it's worse than what Matt Cooke did. I think it's worse than what Brent Seabrook did. And I'm going to stop there because those are the most two recent comparisons or contrasts of examples that I can give at this moment. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that definitely taking stick and shoving it between an opponent's legs is not something that should be allowed in the league, period. But at least with the NHL side, I'm going to play a little bit devil's advocate, a little bit with what I'm doing. Okay. Right now, when players get hit in the nuts with a stick, most of the time it catches the cup. And then the cup may or may not transfer it, and you might actually get hit in the nuts. But most of the time it's just like, I can't believe you fucking just tried to do that. And it doesn't really do much damage, if that makes sense. Because because I can't remember any time it's happened to me, whether or not a player actually tried to hit me in the nuts or not. But I just don't remember, ever like being in real pain after getting hit in the nuts in a hockey game.
I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you. And that being said, I think if they do connect, it's also one of those where they just kind of hunch over and skate over to the bench. And then it's kind of like a quick 30-second, 1 minute, 2 minute sort of deal to like to get back composed, and then it's over. It's a very quick reaction, and most of the time there's not adverse effects from it based off of the 30 seconds to 2 minutes afterwards. And then, but going with the two examples you used, Seabrook and Cooke, Tyson Barrie's out up to 6 weeks, and it remains to be seen when Backes comes back. And then so in the NHL's eyes, the long-term injury of those two hits is what is going to severely drive up the suspension rather than the intent to injure on the Lucic and Perry thing. That being said, I think what also the league relies on is the players policing themselves, in the sense that the players are the ones that are going to really make Lucic and Perry pay for what they did. And they're kind of like, they understand that it's something you just don't do, not because it's illegal, even though it is, but just because it's just something you don't do as a person, as a man. And the guys on the ice will hold you accountable, and they don't need that extra set of higher persons to do it, which might be why they only give a $5,000 fine. Not entirely sure, can't think in the mind, but I do agree that the $5,000 fine is absolutely nowhere near the kind it needs to be, and it should be upwards of $25,000, if not even more than that.
I've seen players be scorned over much less, and over spears to the gut. And
I think, yeah.
Vicious slashes. Hold on, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to pause.
No, you go. Sorry.
That's alright. Thank you though. And slashes to the wrists and slashes to the shin. And we could give examples, and it's unimportant. If I told you if you're gonna get speared or slashed on the wrist, the shin, the gut, or the nuts, but you could choose one place that you won't get hit, I would be surprised if you didn't choose to save your nuts.
No, everybody would save their nuts.
I mean, it's just so despicable to me, and and it angers me to see it, and it angers me to not see it. We come down on more harshly in the media, with fans, with players. It's the whole gamut. And I think if I was a player and somebody speared me in the nuts, I would go ape. I would just lose it. That's worse than saying anything about my mama, or questioning my integrity, or whatever else I can think of. It's so low. It's so dirty. The only way you can make slashing me in the nuts worse is if you kick me in the nuts. Okay. Well, we obviously, we think differently. So to close out.
No. I think that I agree with you in the sense that it should be taken more seriously and be more outcried by the fans and the media and the league. But again, I think the reaction is very short-term, immediate when it happens. Because I could tell you that fans, like if that would happen, the fans see it and the guy goes down, they get riled up and they call for the guy's head and everything like that, and they demand something be done, especially if it's after the whistle, especially with spears to the gut, stuff like that. But I think once that maybe 5-10 minutes after, it's just done because again, you don't see the injury last for as long. And the guy pays his dues, whatever, he gets in a fight, whatever, and then it's done, and it's kind of like the score is settled. It's not talked about afterwards, so it's not a bigger deal. So I guess it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy is that, well, the reason why it's not long is because people don't talk about it, and if people don't talk about it, it's not going to get longer, sort of vicious cycle sort of deal. But
yeah, that all makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a bigger reason why is that it's not seen the way that you think it is. And I agree with you. I definitely think it's an awful thing to do because essentially what you're trying to do is just take away somebody's manhood. And the manhood is the only thing that guy has when he's done playing. Cause I know for me, like one thing I always want to be is be a dad. Like that's wants to be one of my biggest lives and goals is be a dad and be a good dad because I know I'm going to be good at it. And exactly. And if somebody would try to take that away from me, I would be super pissed at them and would want to beat their face in. And so that's why I agree with you. People would go apeshit. But I think the problem is that it's because most of the time, 99% of the time, there isn't that long-term damage from it. The reaction isn't going to be long-term.
I understand. So to close out this portion and to transition into Matt Cooke, and then let's get into the Blues after Cooke.
All right.
I already said how I think that it should be policed. How do you think that either the NHL or the team or the players should police it, if any differently?
Well, I definitely think that it should be a suspendable offense because that, like we've said, I think that 5-6 games is fairly harsh for when somebody like Seabrook only gets 3 games. I mean, I'm just going to throw out Seabrook because he's the first one that popped in my head. And we don't know. Was Matt Cooke's suspension announced today? Because if it was, I didn't see it.
No, it was not.
Okay, so he hasn't been announced, so Seabrook's the most recent one. I definitely feel like a 1 to 2 game suspension is definitely something that is warranted for something like that because that it's a very excessive slash or spear. And that's just, it's sparing. Sparing, I think, is seen one as the most dirtiest things besides a knee-on-knee hit, which we'll talk about later. But I think, and I definitely think within the games themselves, so if you put your stick between somebody's legs and thrust upward, you better be ready to drop the gloves and get into a fight with every single player on the other team. Because that's essentially what you're doing, is you're basically saying, I want to fight the entire team. Because that's what's going to happen. And especially in the playoffs, it should be no different. And so I feel like that's the biggest way to do it, is just basically if you're on your team and you see either A, your teammate do that to somebody, or B, your teammate have it done by somebody, immediately go over there, and if it's your teammate, you just throw him in the box and tell him, don't do that again, because I'm not going to be here to defend you next time. And if it was the other team that did it, you drop the gloves and beat his face until he says he's sorry, and then the refs have to come and peel you off of him. That's just the way it is.
Alright. So that's our stances on that. With Matt Cooke, when I originally saw the play, I thought it a normal hockey play gone awry. As I've seen replays, I'm leaning away towards that. However, I will admit that I am still undecided. Obviously, Cooke recognizes what is about to transpire before Tyson Barrie. He skates, I don't know how long, 10 or so feet. And for most of the time, he has his left leg out. He also turns left, Cooke does. So, I just have to admit that I don't fully believe that he had intent to injure. Actually, I'm gonna say he doesn't have intent to injure. I will also say that he puts himself in a needless position of possibly injuring somebody, because the easiest way to injure a knee is to have it away from the body in an outward position, the manner that he did. And when you lay on a body check in an awkward position, this is something that can happen. And I'm also crossed on whether or not he's changed the error of his ways and all that. Matt Cooke really only has 4 or 5 seasons of 100 plus penalty minutes. Now, 3 of them came, the first one was 6 years ago. So the third one was 3 years ago, and now he's on his 3rd season of being reformed. And I would like to give more credence, more weight towards recent history and less recent history. That's what I want to believe, that he's a reformed guy who had a good hockey play gone awry. That's what I want to believe. That's not what the visuals are starting to show, though.
I don't know. I mean, with the name like with Matt Cooke's name, you immediately get thrown into the dirty player. He doesn't deserve to be here. He ended Mark Savard's career, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I like to think that whenever he switched over to Minnesota, which was this year, I do think that he has definitely cleaned up his game. And so because of that recent history, I do give him a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt than I would have. That being said, of the times that I viewed it last night, and I haven't been able to view it again today, but from what I saw, it seems like he got caught in the middle of wanting to either absolutely lay him out, or if he was going to do an illegal hit and try to move out of the way. And I don't know, I could kind of see the gears turning a little bit in his head, but that being said, it's a bad hit, because his knee is completely out, and it's a knee-on-knee hit, and it's one of those things where he needed to make a move, and he just froze, and it just happened. And I definitely think that it was an avoidable hit. Whether the intent to injure there is not, most likely going to say no, because players at least me, I don't like to purposely injure other players. And I don't think Matt Cooke, especially with his prior history, wants to purposefully injure other players. But that hit's a bad hit, and he's going to be sitting for a very long time. And it's a brutal hit, and it's unfortunately a classic Matt Cooke dirty hit.
We're about to find out what the NHL thinks. If they think that this is an accident, if they think that he was a changed man, or if they feel jilted or duped, or however the NHL feels, we're about to find out. And it'll probably be somewhere in the middle, to be quite honest. And their hand is being forced because Barrie is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. Oh man.
Right, go ahead.
No, I'm done. What's up?
All right. I was going to say, I would not be surprised if they give him 11 games for this suspension. And that seems like a very odd number, But that's if the Avalanche, their series against the Avalanche goes to 7, and then the entire next round goes to 7. And I could see them saying the absolute soonest you'd be able to come back is the Western Conference Finals if your team makes it that far.
The worst part, other than all the injuries, the worst part about Matt Cooke is that since his rookie season in 98-99, and over 1,000 games of service, Matt Cooke has been a really good hockey player for a third liner. He has 388 points to his name, dude. Right? 163 goals. He's played 100 playoff games. He has 34 points. This guy, in 2011 with the Penguins, scored 19 goals. Let me count this real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times he scored at least 10 goals. This guy knows how to play in the offensive end. He's a good defensive player. He was doing things that the Parise and Suter combination, or Koivu combination rather, wasn't able to do and shut down the hottest line in the NHL playoffs this year. Landeskog, and McKinnon.
Mm.
But the only things that anyone's ever going to remember about Matt Cooke is the hit list he's racked up. This guy, other than that, is an ideal third line player.
Yep.
I think that's really the worst part.
I totally agree with you because, dude knows how to play hockey. He's not like, I don't want to say Paul Bissonnette, but he's not a Paul Bissonnette.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. It really is unfortunate that nobody's going to know that he put up 388 career points up to this point in his career. It's the fact that it's going to be how many dirty hits, how many games he was suspended. That sucks.
Alright, well, from a depressing topic to a very emotion-filled topic.
Yes.
Sir, take it away.
Alright, so I'm assuming that people have already seen Brent Seabrook's hit on David Backes. It was late. The puck was nowhere near him. He was charging, and he hit him up high. Backes goes down, hits his head, and is obviously concussed. And he still stands up and wants to fight his team. Wants to fight the Blackhawks for the dirty hit. Whatever, that's fine. There's trash talking from the Blackhawks to the Blues. Okay, that's fine. The biggest thing that pisses me off about this whole situation is how spiteful. No, I don't want to say spiteful. The biggest thing that pisses me off about this entire situation is how the Blackhawks fans have reacted to this Backes hit.
Mm-hmm.
When it immediately happened, I immediately said, dirty hit by Seabrook, gonna be 5 in a game's the right call. And I was immediately flooded on Twitter of Blackhawks fans saying, absolutely no way, nothing's dirty about him, Backes is being a pussy, there's no reason why it needs to be 5 in a game, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, it's the right call. And I was like, I even said, we all have our biases, but that definitely deserves to be a 5 in a game. He deserved to get suspended. Then Seabrook gets hit with the 3-game suspension. And all these Blackhawks fans are going, oh, that's bullshit that he's getting 3 games. Should have been 1, should have been 2. He's got no prior history, blah, blah, blah. And it's not, Doesn't matter if he has no prior history or not. It was a late hit. It was a high hit. Backus was obviously injured on it, and DOPS didn't even touch the fact that there was head contact. So Seabrook could have had it much worse. And all these Blackhawks fans are just talking about how unfair the call is. And then, for me, the kicker is the Wakey Wakey Backus t-shirts and fans before Game 3 saying, Backus, 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 come out to play. Or, where's Backus, Wakey Wakey, don't fear the Indian. Because these are the fans 2 years ago absolutely fucking calling for Raffi Torres' head when he lit up Marian Hossa for the same kind of hit. Charging, interference, and head contact. Same big three things. The only difference was that it was Marian Hossa getting hit instead of David Backus. And we know that there's a little different styles of play. But when I was saying that Raffi Torres should have gotten 6, 7, 8 games, they were saying, oh no, he needs to be gone forever. And he got 25 games. And now these fans are bitching and moaning about Seabrook only getting 3 games, and they're taunting Backus for being out for the next game. It pisses me the fuck off that these fans turn that much based off of it, and it's only 2 years, and how they just don't, they shows that they have no respect for the game when they act like that. And that's what pisses me off.
No dignity for being a decent human being. I mean, just, holy shit. I don't even really know what to say other than that's just fucked up.
Exactly. And it pisses me off, and I bit my tongue because I didn't want to start another Twitter shitstorm, and I didn't want to start another Facebook war. I'm up here known as a Blues fan, and so I didn't want to start a whole storm where everybody just rips on me for being a Blues fan. Shut up, you don't have a cup, we got 2, whatever, blah blah blah. I mean, that's fine. They can rip on me for being a Blues fans all they want. They can go back to being their Chicago high horse, whatever. But it really, really pisses me off when they acted like that. And it's been bothering me ever since the hit.
It would bother me too. And they're not even making relevant arguments, which is usually the worst part in my mind. In my mind, the Seabrook hit is a normal hockey play gone completely awry. Seabrook doesn't know that Backus failed to retrieve the puck. He is, I presume, anticipating Backus to start turning. But I don't think quite like that, because Backus turns very sharply. It's sort of actually, I'm looking at the GIF right now. Backus is making a hockey stop. Mm-hmm. So that he could go back and chase down Keith and retrieve the puck. Seabrook, his back is to that. Seabrook he's turning with Backus in anticipation of hitting him, and there's too little time. There's way too little time. And they are of comparable heights, and Seabrook hits Backus's face with his shoulder. Elbows are down. Seabrook is standing straight up. And therein lies the difference, because Backus is bent over. He's making a hockey stop. So what causes the injury is 2 things. Backus trying to change direction, and Seabrook coming in at a different height than Backus. When I was taught as a young lad that the way you want to hit is to drive through their rib cage, or if you get it, or even better, drive through their sternum. And the way that you make sure that your shoulder hits it is to make sure that your knees are similarly bent to your opponent's, which also assumes that you're of comparable height. So Seabrook comes in, he's nearly straight-legged. Backus is bent pretty heavily. That looks like 5 or 6 inches, and Backus is 6'3". To me, it's the right call. 5 in a game, 3 games. I thought it was a little light. I thought it should have still been 5 or so games because it's, the principal point of contact and all that. But to me, this is a normal hockey play gone completely awry. And that's not even the worst part. The worst part is wakey and the taunting and don't you have a shred of dignity and human decency?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree with you in the sense that I do think that Seabrook was not intentionally trying to hurt Bacchus. And because when I originally saw when it happened in live time, both my dad, my brother, and myself all went nuts because we're like, he has to get whatever. We knew it was a dirty hit, whatever. And we immediately knew even from seeing, you didn't even have to be on the ice to see that Bacchus was obviously concussed. Like, I think that's the most visually I've seen somebody where I know right away it's like he's concussed, he's done, he's not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the fact that he's unconscious on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, and I thought that his elbow was up. But then after seeing replays, it's shoulder to head. And I agree with you that it's because Bacchus is a lot lower than Seabrook, rather than Seabrook jumping up and hitting him high.
And and that makes it no less acceptable. I mean, it's
exactly.
Sort of like all the stick fouls that we see. When sometimes it's just the follow through of your shot or the follow through of your pass. It's like, nope, sorry, you are at all times responsible for your stick.
Right, exactly, and that's why I definitely agree that the five in a game was warranted, and I don't know, wow, speak, Jacob. While watching the game and into the overtime intermission, I saw a lot of the hockey writers saying that he needs to come back to 2 and 3. So when he got 3, that's fine. I agree with you. I feel like it should have been more towards a 4 or 5 with how important and how much the league has said that they want those kind of hits lowered, and 3 games just doesn't do much, especially in the playoffs. But I'm not real too angry about it. But yeah, it's. I think even though the wakey, I don't know. When I first heard about it, I was unnerved by it.
Yeah.
And by the same thing, it's like, exactly, do you not have no shred of human dignity? And that, why are you taunting a player that's obviously, and you can see that he's concussed? But I have no doubt in my mind that worse things have been said on the ice for much littler things.
Yeah.
And I don't blame players for trash talking, because I shit talk all the time and I chirp all the time and it's whatever. And it was probably a very much heat of the moment thing, and whoever, I hope to believe that they would take it back if they could, seeing how, and they just might not have noticed that he was as bad of shape as he was. That's a totally reasonable explanation. But yeah, I definitely think that if the intent there was to make fun of somebody who's obviously concussed, then just despicable. But I don't believe, especially knowing hockey players in general and how much the majority of those guys have respect for the game and respect for the other players, I don't think they would say so. I don't think they would say something like that if they truly believe Bacchus was injured.
And for all the fans who are doing that shit, can go fuck themselves.
Exactly. The fans just definitely should know better, because they're not the ones in the heat of the moment. They're not the ones that they're just not the ones down there. And you can shit talk other fans all you want. The line is much, much closer to you than it is for players. And it's just saying, selling t-shirts that says wakey wakey Bacchus is unacceptable in my book.
That guy should get fired from his job. And I don't like to say that, but that is.
No, I think it's fan shirts. I think it's a fan made t-shirt that's being sold. I don't think it's a specific company that came up with the idea.
Oh, I know. I know. That guy's employer should see it and say, we don't want that kind of classlessness.
Yes,
kind
I
of
agree. Should.
lack of appreciation for health and dignity and integrity. And Jacob, I think we've said what we need to say about this. How about you?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so wrote on the show roll impression Miller has made, but if he's not of interest enough, choose somebody else on the Blues who has made a particular impression on you so far in this playoff.
Well, I think I kind of want to touch on Miller just a little bit.
All right.
Just because in game 1, I saw there were a lot of fans, I mean, obviously, a lot of fans on Twitter, because I'm on Twitter, and they were calling for Elliott to come in because Miller was Bush League. And I was just, it just kind of astounded me because I'm like, he wasn't, I mean, yes, there are a couple goals that he maybe should have had. And we talked about that already. But it wasn't like he was playing bad. He wasn't playing Anders Lindback bad that deserved to get yanked. He was just not doing it. And in game 3, the one goal that was let in was a bad goal that he should have had. But it just seems like Miller just has a couple of lapses in his game, and then he just stands on his head for the rest of the time.
Yeah.
And so it's just limiting those that I would love to see. But by no means do I think Miller has been bad during this playoff run so far. He's been good. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been outstanding. He's just been good. And at times he's been great and outstanding. But we just need him to up his play a little bit. And then once he does, the Blues will be fine. That being said, I think that the player that has left the biggest impression on me is Vladimir TaraSmytho. The reason why I bring him up is because all year, all the hot topic with the Blues has been who is going to step up when they need them. And so far for the Blues in this playoffs, it has been Vladimir TaraSmytho. And I'm so excited to see what he can do for the rest of his career. Because this guy, he is the X factor, and he's the guy that, I mean, it's early, but I could see him being a serious candidate for the Conn Smythe if the Blues make it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Wow, that's quite a statement, buddy.
It is quite a statement, but seeing what he's done in the 2 games already, I mean, he scored with 0.6 seconds left in the game with for overtime in game 2, and in game 1, he got the second goal, which was just an absolute beautiful goal. Mm-hmm. And he's been humming out on the ice. He's been doing stuff off the score sheet and on the score sheet. He's been a big energy guy for the Blues, and he's made a difference so far. And I could definitely see him, if he continues his play, I could definitely see him being one of the top 3 for the Blues, being in that Conn Smythe votes.
Well, certainly, if he's able to keep up the pace and the Blues are able to keep up the wins.
Exactly.
I was thinking about what you were saying about Miller, and it reminded me an old adage about veteran ace pitchers in baseball. That the best time to get at them is in the first time through the lineup. That it takes them an at-bat or two, or an inning or two rather, to get comfortable and to get situated on the mound.
Yep.
For whatever reason. And it sounds like Miller needs a few shots in game to get comfortable out in the crease.
Yep. That's damn near perfect of what happens to Miller.
Damn, man. That's not what you traded for.
I mean, yes and no. I think that no, the Blues weren't trading for a goalie that needs to be warmed up. But they did trade for the quality goaltender that Miller is once he is warmed up. So I'm sure they're not particularly happy that it takes a little bit to get into his groove, but when he's in his groove, he's good. He's really good. And so that's who they traded for.
Well, if somebody can turn it around There aren't a lot of goalies remaining in the playoffs, as if more than one has been eliminated. There aren't a lot of goalies in the playoffs this year who can sustain a struggle, who can overcome a struggle of any kind. Like Ryan Miller is one of those goalies. And so maybe he's feeling some excess pressure that he's putting on himself because he realizes that this may be his last best opportunity to A, make a deep run, and B, possibly win a cup.
Yeah, I could see that.
And, even though he's a former Olympic MVP, and that was when he was much younger, as well as that's a flash in the pan tournament.
Right.
This is a marathon. And he's significantly older. So.
Well, now it's turning into a sprint, but yes, I agree with you.
Well, it's true. As it goes on, it becomes, the pace picks up.
Right. But yeah, I totally agree with you.
When I've watched the games, I've noticed that the Hawks are able to pick off what they want to do with specific defensemen more than I anticipated. And I didn't realize this earlier, but Shattenkirk is not as good defensively as I had originally thought. And Bouwmeester looks like he's suddenly showing his age. And it's not just Pietrangelo, that's not fair, but Polak is the one-dimensional shot-blocking defenseman that his stats show, and it's late in the season, so fatigue and injury and the Hawks are a particularly fast team and all that, but I thought that the Hawks were in for a much tougher offensive series than what has transpired. I thought that the St. Louis Blues were going to be able to lock down defensively and take control via the counter. And that's not quite what I've seen.
Yeah, the Blues defense has not been strong this series. I definitely think it's been lacking a little bit. I think the best time the Blues are defensive are when we are on the penalty kill. I feel like that's when it's been the best. But yeah, I definitely think that the Blues need to step up defensively. And when they do that, it'll be Miller will have a much easier time, and I think the Blues will finally run away with the series. But they definitely need to step up because the defense outside of Pietrangelo has not been particularly good.
All right, so to wrap up this part of the podcast, what needs to change for the St. Louis Blues? And I think part of it, and this is my only point, part of it is we need to stop talking like the Blues are down 2-1 when in fact they're up 2-1 in the series.
Oh yeah.
Go on.
I think the biggest thing the Blues need to do moving forward is remember that this is not the Kings series from last year. Because if they get in that, here we go again mentality, it's done. And there's already been a lot of talk of that because of how similar Game 3 was this year to Game 3 last year. And Crawford played very well next game. I think the Blues play the same style of game. They win 4-2 with an empty net goal. And they'll be taking 3-1 back to St. Louis and they'll be set. So I think the biggest thing is that they need to take away that it was, like Hitch said, it was one of the best road games they played all year. They need to take that positivity and look at the positivity from that game and know that they can beat the Hawks in the UC because they'll be fine. But I think it's definitely going to start becoming a head game between these two teams, and the Blues just got to stay strong, and they'll be fine.
This is my big, bold prediction for how the series ends.
All right.
It's Game 7.
Oh, God. I don't know if I can take that.
And, who's that coming down the runway? Why That's the captain. That's David Backus. Oh, he's playing tonight. Oh my God, it's David Backus. You know what he does off the drop?
Drops the gloves, beats the shit out of Seabrook, and gets suspended.
You know what he does before that?
What?
When he pushes the puck forward, dangles between Seabrook and Keith, one-on-one on Crawford, top shelf where Mama hides the cookies. And guess who wins 1-0 to move on to round 2?
Wow. I think this is going to be my bold prediction. My bold prediction is in series. Blues win by 5. Game-winning goal goes to Ryan Reeves. Blues win in 5. Ryan Reeves gets a game-winning goal. And the way he scores the goal is it's going to be a left-handed. It's going to be on the left-hand face-off dot. He's going to line up as a left winger. And Maxime Lapierre the puck's going to drop. He's going to push to the center forward. Ryan Reeves is going to come pick up the puck, move into the slot, and just rifle it over Crawford's glove, top right corner.
I really feel like my adaptation of Willis Reed is much more likely to occur.
That's start calling it a bold prediction.
Sorry, buddy. Let's move on to the Rangers and the Flyers. Now, I have just a simple question. Where did Zach Rinaldo go? You know, the first 82 games of the season, he ran around like he owned the place, terrorizing homies in space. I don't see him now that the playoffs have started. Don't you think that's weird?
What, that he's gone?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a goon. Dude racked up so many penalty minutes. I'm not surprised he's not playing.
Oh, right. 'Cause he's useless.
Exactly. Zach Rinaldo is not a good player at all. Like, when we talk about how the unfortunate thing is Matt Cooke is actually a hockey player, Zach Rinaldo is like Matt Cooke if he didn't know how to score goals.
And had no interest in playing hockey.
Exactly. He doesn't. He should be a boxer. That's what he should do. He should be in the UFC. He should not be in the NHL.
Actually, I agree with that.
He'd probably do good too.
He'd go, what was that? What was the wrestler? Brock Lesnar on your ass.
Nice reference.
Thank you. Alright, so I'm trying to pull up his minutes because I wasn't prepared.
His minutes are probably like, okay, so there's going to be a little bit of an antecedent and it's going to be a little weird, but last year I was in a fantasy hockey league and hits were valued the same as assists, meaning that there was 2 points for a hit and 2 points for an assist.
Okay.
And I caught on about a week too late, and a friend of mine it was a league of eight people. He ended up going 32-0. He ended up going like 12-0 because it was during the lockout shortened season. But anyway, Zach Rinaldo was his best player because he would get like 7, 8, 10 hits a game and play maybe 4 minutes of ice time. Maybe. If he was lucky, he got 4 minutes. I mean, the dude does absolutely nothing except headhunt. And he's one of my least favorite players in the entire league because of that.
How do you even use the word favorite with him?
You can't. You can't use the word. The only way you can use favorite is he is my favorite player to see riding the bench. That's the only way you can see favorite.
Attaboy. Alright, so, tonight he played 6:37.
But 6:37 today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And on Sunday, game 2, he played 4:27. So we're gonna round these to the 30. So he has played 11 minutes. And in game 1 on last Thursday, he played 7:50. So he has played
19.
Under 20 minutes in 30 games, in 3 games.
And what was it? Granted it was a triple overtime game. Players regularly went above the 30-minute mark in game 1 for the Blues Hawks. So yeah, the fact that's pretty substandard for Rinaldo, and honestly, he deserves it.
Oh God, I've been wanting to say something nasty about Zach Rinaldo for so long. It's just this, and then he was doing it at the end of the game too. He was headhunting. It's for every time somebody wants to rag on Matt Cooke, and it's not that Cooke doesn't deserve it. I want to show him a Zach Rinaldo highlight reel. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, but on a more important note, the name of the game so far this particular series has been pace and dictation. Game 1 and Game 3, the Rangers won 4-2 and 4-1 respectively. The Rangers were completely able to control the pace and the dictation of the play, to the point where they were able to sit back soccer style and counter. Okay, so the Flyers are unable to take what the Rangers give them and say, fuck you, this is what we're going to do anyway. All the Flyers are able to do at best is try and force their way through the Rangers' defense. This is what I said last week. It's just a bad matchup. Like, as much as I'm doing the New York Philly thing, I'm just hamming. This is a terrible matchup because the Flyers are a one-trick pony, and their secondary talent is pretty good, but they're stifleable. And the Rangers' defense is stout. We don't have Michael Del Zotto back there anymore. Now we got Kevin Klein. We got Dan Girardi, who popped the G tonight with an absolute past razor. The one issue that I have with the Rangers, and they reared its head in Game 2 when the Rangers blew a 2-goal lead, and Luke freaking Shen pops the winner. And tonight, where basically the second half of the game, actually, the Rangers only got 4 shots in the second period. And they finished the game with 23 shots after getting 13 in the first. So, offensively speaking, the Rangers weren't particularly dynamic, but like I said, they were sitting back and trying to counter the Flyers. And they got forced into doing that because in the second period, they got called for a series of penalties where the Rangers killed off 3 or 4 in the second period alone. So that'll disrupt chemistry and flow and everything. But in the third period, Rangers were out of sync and forced into, well, we're up 3-1. Let's just try and master a transition game. And they did it pretty well. And the best moment, the whole counter game came at exactly 10:53 of the third period, where Daniel Carcillo comes streaking in on the right wing. And, he taps it in. He got it in. He taps it in. For the dagger. That might be the lamest thing I've ever done. But the coolest thing I've seen so far this playoffs is the celebration of Carcillo after he scored the goal. This was so validating, so vindicating. Oh, God, it just, it made me feel so good inside.
Yeah, in terms of goal celebrations, I am a major fan of you put your arms immediately up in the air and then you go down and you swoop the ice and you get a big fist bump, a big arm swing in it. Like that's my go-to goal celebration. But that being said, the stare down with the Philly fan right press against the glass in the face of a double finger might have to be one of my new favorites because it's just, I mean, my favorite thing is grinders need goals too. Like whenever a fourth liner scores, I always put that hashtag on Twitter is grinders need goals or grinders get goals because I think it's great. Mm-hmm. And to see Daniel Carcillo, who's granted not one of my favorite players because when he was on the Hawks or when he was on the Kings and just the fact that he's a pest. Doesn't really contribute that much to the score sheet. He's just basically out there to get under the skin of the opponents. But to see him get a goal and do that is awesome. And I love it.
And this was completely warranted too. Carcillo was getting ragged on by the Flyers, which is understandable. It's part of his job.
Oh yeah. Especially when he used to play for him.
Yeah, and the fans were getting on it. Alright, so that's fine. But Carcillo played an excellent game tonight. He was a quality agitator. He possessed the puck reasonably well, for a player of his caliber. He was not a defensive liability. And, you know what? When he also feels like he has to fight the referees, not physically, but metaphorically.
Right.
The reason why he was in the box midway through the third was because, as I recall it, the Flyers had the puck in the Rangers zone, and the pass went from the wall to the middle, and I believe it was Boyle was too far off of his assignment, and Carcillo was near between the tops of the circles. And he turns to his left, and he does a full body dive, and he lifts the stick of the recipient Flyer, and the referee calls it for a hook. This play, just in terms of an individual play, is a Selke award-winning play. And again, I'm just talking about this particular kind of defensive play. And he gets called for a hook. Now, if you're Daniel Carcillo, who has a bad reputation and probably gets no benefit of anything, to come out on the rush after the Rangers successfully kill his penalty, for him to score the dagger in Philly, I think the only thing that could be better for him is if he lifts the cup.
Mm-hmm. No. I know that feeling 100% because when I was playing, I had a goal taken away from me because the puck was sitting on the goal line and I shoved it in and the ref blew the whistle later. I put the puck in, raised my hands up and was going to celebrate with my team when he blew the whistle and he waved it off because he lost sight of the puck. And I told him to open his goddamn eyes and make the fucking right call. And I got a 2-minute unsportsmanlike conduct penalty and they took my goal off the board. And then, 3 minutes later, it wasn't right after I come out of the box, but it was I come out the box onto the bench, and then my next shift, when I was out on the ice, I ended up tipping a puck down into the back right corner for the goal to tie the game up. And it's one of my favorite memories of senior year of high school, because that was one of my favorite goals I've ever scored. So I exactly know how Carcillo feels, and it is exactly true that there's no better feeling than scoring a goal right after coming out of the box for a penalty was a bullshit call.
Jacob Bourne. Bad boy.
Badass numero uno.
See? Alright, well obviously my prediction of Rangers in 3 isn't coming true. Nor is the Rangers in 4 coming true. But hopefully while I'm up in the Palisades playing some wiffle ball, the Rangers will be taking care of the Flyers.
Yes, hopefully they could go. They can be done in 5.
Alright, well, that's it for our show roll. But do you want to add a bracket challenge update?
I mean, we can. I'm okay with that.
Alright, well, it looks like Tampa, and by Tampa I mean Montreal, has completely busted that part of the bracket because I had Tampa in 6 and Montreal 1 and 4. I also am off on Anaheim Dallas. I had Anaheim in 4. Maybe LA can still do it in 6. I'm on track with my Chicago and Colorado, as well as my Boston. Columbus, we will see. And by the way, and this is all I have to say about Columbus. Dubinsky is a man possessed, and he needs to teach Bobrovsky how to do it, because in order for the Columbus Blue Jackets to get past the Pittsburgh Penguins, Bobrovsky needs to start outplaying Marc-Andre Fleury, bar none.
Mm.
And that's my bracket update.
Yeah, my bracket update is that that my Boston in 7 is looking like it may or may not come true, although I don't think it's going to. My Rangers in 6 is going fairly strong. I like that. But my Columbus in 7, I don't think, I've been telling this to my friends, one of them a few of whom are actually Columbus Blue Jackets fan, is that now that Columbus is in the East, they are one of my favorite teams to watch. And they're so much fun, and I love it. And I'm a big proponent of Columbus. And so they have had some great games so far. But the unfortunate thing is I don't think they're going to be able to make it in 7 because I just haven't seen them. They just haven't gotten the bounces. And it sucks. But they're just, hopefully it turns around and they prove me wrong, but it's going to take, this is a must-win game for them in Game 4.
Absolutely.
They have to win it, and I almost feel like an overtime win might be better for them, but I think that it's either A, they need to win in overtime, or B, they need to blow them out of the water. Because if it's just a close game that it looks like, it just looks like the Penguins just didn't catch any breaks, then, I mean, it could be okay, but I feel like Columbus has to either get big momentum through an overtime win or through a blowout win for them to carry it through.
Yeah, I see that.
Do you want to go over to the west side?
You can.
Okay, my LA in 7 pick, not looking strong, but I'm okay with that because whenever the LA Kings lose, I'm a big fan because screw them in the playoffs. Ducks in 5, still a solid pick. I think it's going well. Although, interesting fact over in the West, the home team has won every single game. There has yet to been an away team win, which is interesting.
Really?
Yes, because it's what is it? They're in LA tonight, but it's been Sharks 2-0. It's 2-1 Anaheim. Anaheim winning the first 2, Dallas winning the third. It's 2-1 Blues winning the first 2, and Chicago winning the first. And then it was 2-1 Avalanche winning both their games at home, and then Minnesota winning their game at home.
Wow, look at that. I hadn't noticed.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. So maybe the Kings break, or maybe the Sharks break the trend tonight. Not sure, but just a possibility. Such a shame about Steven Robineau and him breaking his leg.
Oh God, yeah. The look on his face, the look on his wife's face. Oh my God, breaks your heart.
The reception that he got from the Dallas fan was awesome, and that's one reason why we love hockey. That was great.
Got that right, brother.
Blues in 6, still going strong. Still want that to happen. And then obviously, as in 5, it could easily happen in the way with Nathan McKinnon and Ryan O'Reilly and Paul Stastny have been playing. And I really hope it happens.
Dude, I just want to see Nathan McKinnon play more hockey.
Oh, for sure. I am scared for the Blues have to play him in the second round.
Yeah, I'm scared of Brandon Dubinsky.
Yeah, that's fair.
And actually, Ryan, Joe, don't call me Yo Hansen.
This is actually what me and a guy that I work with were having a discussion about. How do you feel Artem Anisimov and Brandon Dubinsky feel about playing for Columbus right now?
Probably pretty good.
Exactly. That's what I said. I was saying that if they were on the Rangers right now, they would be considered second fiddle. And they would be getting second, third line minutes and not be that big of a part of the offense. But in Columbus, they are the stars. They are the guys that are heralded on that team. And I said it's much better being one of the better players, being one of the best players on a team that is good, rather than being the second, being like just a role player on a team that's great.
You mean as an individual?
As an individual, yes.
All right, I can dig it.
Yes, because that's one thing I learned in high school, and it's 100% true. You have so much more fun when you're being the guy that gets to contribute the most on a team that might not be doing well, more so than being a guy who just gets on the score sheet every once in a while, but is on a team that's really good.
I don't know, man. You play to win the game.
You do play to win the game, but I mean, okay, so this is gonna be my instance in high school. In high school, junior year, I was on a team. I scored I want to say probably 8 or 9 points over the course of a 20 game season. No, I mean, it wasn't anything spectacular or anything like that. And, we had a kid who played about half our games, but averaged 2 points per game. And he's now playing D1 hockey in Vermont. And cool. we ended up losing in the first round of the playoffs first round of the middle tiered playoffs to another school, and it was fun. And it was a good year. We won games. It was fun. But the next year, we were easily the worst team in our division. We only won 2 games all year, one of them being a play-in game in the lowest tier playoffs. But I had 19 points in 20 games. And that was a lot of fun because I ended up scoring the most goals on the team. And when it came down to it in that playing game, I ended up getting 2 goals. We ended up winning 5-2, moving on. It was our second win of the year. It was a playoff win. And being on that team was so much more fun. And even though we lost a lot, it still was the most fun I've ever had. And I think that's solely because I was a better player on a worse team than being just a role player on a good team.
Okay. I can
it's solely as an individual. And that's why I think players like Dubinsky and Unreasonable are having more fun and generally enjoy Columbus more than New York. I could be totally wrong too, but that's just my impression.
You know what? I'm going to give it some thought, and I'll get back to you on the next podcast.
Fair enough.
All right, bud. But with that, it's 1:45.
Yeah. Go to bed.
Yeah. And, sir, as always, it's an absolute pleasure.
Oh, it's always fun.
Yeah, buddy. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Peace.